Welcome back. We are inching closer and closer here to the end of day 2. We played through our quarterfinal matches. We set up the semifinals for tomorrow, and now we're going through the lower brackets. By the end of the day, by the last 6, I think there's about 6 games remaining, we will know the 6 players that will be advancing on to Championship Sunday, which is technically Championship Saturday. That's tomorrow. Gentlemen, welcome. Welcome back. I'm so used to saying that, and then I realized, I messed up. Wrong day of the week. So what's up, Dan, Lethal? How's it going?
I'm good.
Great.
I'm
Just
so
great.
good. Cracking.
Good, good.
Delirious
Good.
casting incoming.
You know, it's about that time. It's about that time. It's about to get wacky. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Av3k versus cha1n
Yeah.
coming up here next.
I actually casted cha1n on the B stream with 40 Lions, unfortunately for myself, before this, and he looked really good, actually. He went up against Sib.
That's right, yeah.
He was pushed a little bit at certain stages of the game, but there was aggression and spark and clinicalness from cha1n that he just didn't have earlier in the tournament. And, you know, he had probably more pressure going into this, and I spoke to him before the event, and he was saying, you know, he didn't have a good start to the season. He knows he didn't. He'd reflected on that. He took off time from work ahead of this event and has been smashing training. So he might have come into this with too much pressure on his shoulders. And now he's begun to release that and play a bit more of his game. It was against Sib, though. He would expect to beat Sib, and maybe he took that pressure off. This is a completely different situation, though, against Av3k. He was so good in this event. But I'm feeling decent about cha1n and his chances.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. I think I've not really seen him play much this weekend, but just on paper, we can say bits and pieces like the last 6 weeks. He has definitely improved dramatically over time. But at the same time, in the interview previously yesterday, he did say that he's putting extra time, as you rightly mentioned, which is why we've seen signs of that strong adaptation back halfway through of Season 2. And it's nice to see those kind of signs again, because those are the signs where back when we had the separate Americas and the EU region, he was like the second place team. He was giving Dahang a good run for his money, and he was putting a lot of pressure onto Rafa. We're starting to see that again. So this is why he's been able to take us up a lot further than we would have anticipated, maybe compared to the start of the season.
Let's take a quick look at the lower bracket, since that's where our focus is for the remainder of the day. You can see there that, well, cha1n is obviously playing Av3k right here. We've got Dramas versus Ron, and Ron did end up winning that one 2-0. Of course, still a matchup between Zanaku and the winner of Sirius Saigib, which I believe has actually been Sirius. Took out Saigib. And then, of course, coming up next on that one, Nosfa versus Strong Sage might, you know, have a matchup take place between those two and Rafa. So you can kind of see, I think we're going all the way up to that lower bracket round 5 is where we're going to end up by the end of the day. So,
a lot of games. A lot of games to go.
So let's talk a little bit about our picks and bans here as we get into this next matchup between Av3k and cha1n. I also noticed that cha1n's not wearing white anymore. He's wearing his black
He's gone to the dark side.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's nodding. He nods to that one, yeah.
These are the things I notice. I don't know. There it is. Here's our picks and bans. We've got Av3k choosing Ruins. And then after that, we've got Vale. Was the pick by cha1n. Not surprised to see that. And then Awoken is the remaining match. Take us through the picks and bans. Lethal.
Very few players favour like the bigger maps in the map pool, but Av3k favours both of them. Very strong on Blood Covenant and Ruins. And it seems like cha1n is actually banned at Corrupted Keep. Maybe something he's not really too keen on. I've seen Av3k ban Deep and Base quite a lot, but Av3k's going to be quite comfortable on Ruins here straight off the bat with the Strog against the Anarchy. That'll be a very interesting matchup in itself. cha1n selecting Vale, that's also understandable with the Aizen versus the Galena matchup. This is like probably one of the most standard champion picks you'd get on Vale, especially because the Aizen with the top mega control, with the turret in place to try and bait it through the TP, and the Galena with the totems, especially just forcing the Aizen out of position. But the Awoken is one of Av3k's worst maps entirely, and we do have the Nyx versus the Doom. We see the Doom pretty much every single time, almost an Awoken, but I kind of feel like Av3k needs to try and end this in a 2-0 victory. If he doesn't, it could be a cause for concern here, Dan.
Yeah, definitely, and because all these players are so, you know, hesitant to pick any of the heavy champions. We always end up with something a bit more quirky at this stage, but not too bad here. Really like the Anarchy on Ruins, pretty much a premier pick, if you will, there. But again, the Strogan Peaker is an amazing counter there, so good thought process by Av3k, because speed for speed is brilliant, and I think Strog is just broken at the moment. He's so good. Vale as well, we see the Gleaner come out again, and Av3k uses it really, really well. I'm looking forward to that match. And if we do get to Awoken, you're kind of just left up with the Doom. There's not a lot left on the table because he banned the Ranger, which is an interesting ban to start with as well. So the Doom is there, and going up against the Nyx is quite a tricky matchup. The one thing I'll just say, irrespective of the draft, I think it's pretty even across the board, is that I just feel that cha1n, when he struggles, is against the aggression, and that's what Av3k is going to bring in spades. And so if cha1n can do what cha1n does when he's at his best, which is connect with the rails, use his kind of defensive play, cut off the angles, he will be okay. But as soon as he starts misses, then that's when he's in trouble.
I mean, for me, it's a matter of like Av3k's aggression comes from opportunity, right? Yeah. So in that case, you know, cha1n controlling major items, portions of the map, that's, you know, basically shutting down Av3k's ability to be aggressive, because I don't think Av3k's just gonna like come off spawn and be like, let's go LG battle. Like, you know, he, in what we've seen in his battles throughout the weekend, it has been very, very intelligent play coming out of Av3k, and then, you know, strike when the time is right. So it is possible you can keep those doors shut. They're not an easy task at all, but right, there's an avenue.
Yeah, but I think holding control is the hard thing for cha1n. I've often seen him leave areas of the map open, fall off of it a little bit when he's under pressure, making sure he continues to dominate. If he gets into that control, that's going to be the hard thing. And if we get to a third map, then I do see the Nyx coming into play and playing it a bit slower and a bit longer out. But the first two maps, it's going to have to go toe-to-toe.
All right, well, as soon as this game is ready, we'll be jumping in. Again, we're in the lower bracket portion. We've also got the B stream going in tandem to help us file down to our last 6 players. We know 4 of those. They're sitting up top in the upper bracket, and we'll have 2 additional ones joining them. And I'm really excited to see how this will be playing out. So.
Yeah, I am too, especially. Like, Av3k's the kind of player where he doesn't really hesitate that much, does he? As soon as he sees an opportunity, he just dives straight on in, first in, last out every single time without fail. And this, what I mean about him, like, we talk about his analogies he brings to the table and how he discusses Quake overall. And, you know, a very intellectual person in and outside the game, but he's also a very quick thinker in terms of the arithmetic side and the decisions he makes in-game constantly. Yeah, sure, fair enough. You know, losing that Winners Bracket Series match earlier on against Razy is going to be bit of a hit for him, but I don't think it's going to matter too much. I'm not saying that Av3k's a losers bracket specialist. He should be able to dive straight on through, but yeah, he does have a long road ahead of him. This is going to be still quite tough nonetheless, and as Dan rightly said, I did quite agree as well. But with cha1n, you know, in terms of when there's control, sometimes it's okay, but he leaves portion of the map where, you know, he should be securing or should be debating or needs to be a little bit more proactive in terms of his multitasking across the map here. But we'll see how things go. If it was to cha1n earlier on in the season, then I would say Av3k straight up. But the map choices do favour cha1n here, so hopefully he'll feel a little bit comfortable. But of course, as we go back and forward, the champion picks was also quite interesting in itself, so it is a cause for debate.
All right, well, ready up, issued on both sides. We'll see you in a little bit. ZSX, Lethal and I are going to take this one, and we are officially a go, and we're going to be looking through the eyes of cha1n here to start. cha1n on the Anarchy. And, you know, one thing, Lethal, that we have seen from Av3k this weekend, which I still think is kind of unique play, is leaving major items, weapons, certain things, even armors out on the field. cha1n with that first frag, very quick one right there. Might even be able to pick up a second one as he blocks the rail. And gosh, I stopped myself, and that is cha1n with a quick 2-0, but Av3k would, you know, there was a couple points where, you know, he'd leave that mega open, he'd go out, he knew where his opponent was, he would kind of control the flow of the game that way. Definitely interesting, not something we've seen a whole lot. At this point in time, it's a moot point because cha1n's already up by 2.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's not really the the start I was expecting, especially from the likes of cha1n. It's something more from Av3k I would expect in terms of response. Doesn't really get too much done with the Pika, but yeah, it was just seeing what he could do in terms of that response. He's not going to drop down. He was sitting there basically daring for him to come down, but at the same time, didn't have any rockets on him. So it was actually quite fortunate for him just to leave him out like that. But of course, it's different watching it from our perspective. Minute 20 in, and still cha1n holding on to that 2-0 lead, but still has the inject, remember.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually a kind of awkward situation there for cha1n. He had no rockets. He's like, oh, all I've got is a rail, not really where you want to be. So he backs off. He gets himself an LG. He's now got some more rockets. Going to feel a lot more comfortable defending the positions he might need to defend. Now he grabs a light, sees Peeker come out again, does get some damage, won't matter. He's kind of out of there. Inject coming out. And now the Mega is up. cha1n has an idea. He's thinking there's some sort of a trap going on here. What is he going to do?
Yeah, he feels like something's not right, but at least he heals him down below, so that's confirmed it for him. He's like, right, I'm out of there. I've got height. I'm just going to try and get away as soon as physically possible. And we've seen a lot of Ruins games today and yesterday, and that was a great rocket as well, just to keep him at bay. It's just the fact that there's always one champion slower than the other or lacking mobility or anything on that, but this is quite similar. So hopefully for these two, they won't have too much trouble just trying to catch upon or, you know, going on the hunt, etc. But cha1n's still looking quite good at the moment. Manages to get that Mega. Items are segregated. Heavy is up in the next 10 seconds if cha1n wants to continue piling on the pressure and contesting it. Which it seems like he can. May catch him in heavy jump pad, which he almost did, but Av3k does get away. Yeah,
Av3k actually delayed there a little bit. I think cha1n read that because he was early to the Mega, but then also knew it's still going to be spawning. Does catch his opponent there, grabs that inject, but unfortunately, bounced up in the air, kind of loses his momentum, Lethal, and that gives Av3k an opportunity to open up. cha1n very low, 38 points of health. He does manage to slip away, and Av3k was kind of in a danger zone, so he had to retreat himself. It's going to equalize thing, but that heavy is up. Plasma coming in from down below, and the rail does hit cha1n. He's got to get out of there. Now, this is where that split difference between the items comes into play. Had it not been split, cha1n probably would have retreated, grabbed the Mega, been right back in the fight. Unfortunately, not the case. Now the Mega is up, but he's not really in a position to grab it.
And this recovery rotation cha1n's making, it's not that it's bad, he's got nowhere to go because the courtyard, he's dead. If he goes on heavy jump and that's obviously going to be the safest place. If he goes for Mega, he's dead. Like, there's so many situations where he just could not move at all. Just too much of a risk here, and he waited for that inject just to help him a little bit to try and go for some of his lights and then pursue with that aggression once more. And it's just been very tough for cha1n over the last minute, but Av3k still being very patient with this stack, especially with the Strog, and the piece are going to be some good use, especially for these items later on. Mega is up, but cha1n isn't going to contest it. Instead, takes a rail from the backside. Good rocket, though. I think does 40, but should be enough to give him some leeway. But still a lot of stack to deal with. cha1n is still alive. Uses the rail, still misses it. But even with the rockets from Av3k, that's going to help him get that first frag.
Yeah, that's a rough go. Av3k certainly had control right there and may have another opportunity as well. Gets caught from down below, a rocket to tie it back up. And not good, as it is likely going to give Av3k an opportunity to grab both of the major items. And that is actually false because cha1n off the spawn through that teleporter does steal away the Mega. So suddenly, times more equalized here on our major items. And we're tied up, but neither necessarily has a huge stack advantage.
Yeah, that's right. Not at all at the moment. Heavy come up in the next 5 seconds. The items are not as segregated as before, which does mean Av3k won't be able to contest the Mega straight afterwards. Could have took the risk going up to T-junction with the rocket jump, but of course, pretty much a waste of time at that stage, considering he will get the position, but won't get to the Mega in time to inflict any damage. Just at the halfway point. Heavy up the next 15 seconds, and Av3k just continuing to make sure to put the pressure on to keep him away as far as physically possible from the item, but I like how Av3k's playing at the moment. Playing this very safe and coordinated.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between those first 2 minutes and what we've seen the last 3 is that your cha1n was hitting some really sick rails. He hasn't really had an opportunity to do so, more so because he just has to be really cautious about his own positioning on the map and then trying to regain control back of both of these items. Peeker comes out, gets some information, knows his opponent's down below, and now Av3k looking for an open opportunity. Controlling this middle area, as we often see he likes to do. But so far, what action can he take? A rail trade? Just waiting for it.
Yeah, it certainly is indeed. We haven't seen a lot of flair from these players in a while, ever since that engagement back in the courtyard. Still, it's just a game of chess again, really, isn't it? He knows how good Av3k is and how he takes advantage of these very small situations. It just doesn't tend to hesitate when he smells an opportunity to claim the next frag. Both items almost close together, but Av3k so desperately wants to try and pursue that heavy, but it looks like cha1n's gone all the way back up. Av3k may catch him here, and he has done good damage with the LG, trying to get a bit more of the peeker, and he's already dropped all the way down, but it does mean, though, he picks up the heavy.
Yeah, that means cha1n's going to go over and grab that Mega. Once again, items so close, likely to result in a split. And Av3k's armor stack looking much better. But I'm happy with this game kind of slowing down a little bit after some of that chaos early on. 3 minutes remaining on the clock, but it just seems to be, you know, the right way for these two to play based off the situation that we're in. Oh.
Yeah, I've casted a lot of chess today.
Yeah,
so this is going to be another one. It seems to be I'm noticing a pattern here.
They're both holding off. They're not. I love it. Like they're like, yeah, we're gonna totally just make a huge gap between these two. Little do they know that very, very close. Nice job. cha1n waits until he sees and hears his opponent. That is going to put a little bit of time between the two. And he came up from down below, so likely has a good indicator as to what that time might be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he might have been close enough to hear it anyway. So, and he knows it won't be too much of a difference here. As we've got nearly 2 minutes left, as we could head to the sudden death later on. That also seems to be a trend at the moment. Probably the 5th or 6th potential one today. Or, sorry, overall on the weekend here. Av3k does a little bit of damage to the LG, but cha1n does exactly the same. And it's not that neither player wants to take the risk. If they don't really see such a big or major fault in either each other's gameplay or little room for error, that it's just not worth taking that risk, which is understandable here. You have to be patient, bide your time, especially on a map like Ruins. It's very hard to catch your opponent, especially if they're hovering around that heavy jumper, but that's a lot of LG. Takes down the Peeker straight away, as Av3k has slight disadvantages. Of course, not going to take that risk. He can go for the light, he can go for the Mega and go back to square one.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been 2 risks in a row, because I already feel like jumping down from that top to the bottom could be a little scary, and cha1n took a huge advantage of that. Now, about equal stacks might have a fight here in the courtyard. Nice rocket from cha1n coming out. He switches over to the LG. Rocket answered back. Then a rail coming out from cha1n, but both players pretty low. Another rail and a follow-up one. And cha1n does manage to get it incredibly low. Going to grab some health in the back hallway and pick up a second 25. But that puts cha1n in a great position here in the final minute of this game. Up by 1. Still not over because he's looking a little low, and Av3k has a stack.
And you knew from that reload animation that he was going to have like a half a second quicker hitting that rail, and managed to do earlier for that 3rd frag. Good rail again from Av3k, and looking to try and get a 30. He's not railable anymore as he's backing away. Was thinking about going towards the courtyard for the light, but that's where a lot of these good players go to die, it seems like, especially from that last series, and now cha1n has to back away again. 30 seconds left. Will he be able to hold on?
Well, is going to give some room. That's going to allow Av3k to pick up at least that heavy. Might also get the Mega, and then that is a big window of opportunity. There's only one. It's like a 1 chance to kind of make something happen here. So cha1n has gone into what I would say is a bit of eternal mode. 10 seconds remaining. Going to try to use the speed of Anarchy to just kind of move on through. Put himself in the back. There's the inject. Well done. Av3k says GG, and that 1-point game. You had all that action at the beginning, Lethal, and then just a standoff, you know, a back and forth, respect, if you will, and then of course the fight over the major items. We saw cha1n then with those 2 rails after the battle in the courtyard. That was enough to finish it up and put it first game in his favor.
Yeah, not really too much Av3k could have done there. You saw that cha1n was just forcing his style. Every time I see Av3k and Kilson play Rooms, it's it's like a 25 frag game or something like that. Something absolutely ridiculous. And to see such a low frag game, it's just, we said it before, it's like chess here and everywhere. And it was just very small areas which no one could take advantage of. There wasn't really a big gap where it's like, yeah, I'll just dive on in it. The only split moment was near that heavy jump pad for that third frag with cha1n. He knew that in terms of the reload animation, he did fire first by half a second or a second, and knew that he had that one shot, one kill kind of moment. He managed to get it, and I'm surprised he was able to recover so quickly in the process. And I suppose because he was already in courtyard, Av3k's going to spawn almost on the opposite side of the map and still cut the light, the health bubbles, etc. So it was a quick way to get him back in this game. But it's going to be interesting on Vale, because remember, that last map was Av3k's map pick. Yeah,
it was. You know, the other part of that particular matchup to kind of point out is they're at the end fighting near the light. You know, rails were exchanged, but cha1n had kind of his final 2 injects were kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah.
To put himself into you can't rail me position there, because he was, right? One more landed rail by Av3k, and that would have been a tied game yet again. And then the one near the very end, give himself a little bit of boost and save himself, even if Av3k would have found him. So smart move by cha1n there at the end, and that means we will go on to Vale. cha1n on the Ison, Av3k on the Galena. And this one should also, well, I think it might actually mirror Ruins a little bit. There's certainly, I think, some slow play respect coming out here.
Yeah, there certainly is. Going to Vale next with the Ison versus Galena, a very standard matchup. We haven't seen a lot of standard matchups. It's been quite interesting in itself. We've even seen a couple of Strogs coming out from cha1n and Tox, which is not something we normally see from Vale at all in the slightest tip. But going into the though, we normally see, of course, the Ison abusing that turret, repositioning it quite a few times around top mega or anywhere just to delay these items or even try and contest the items in more ways than one. And the Galena is a good pick due to, not just due to the totems overall, but it keeps Ison out of his high advantageous positions, forces him down below to, of course, he needs to deal with that overstack, and that's going to be the issue and the cost of this game. And he's have to force to reposition himself each and every single time and keep Av3k on his toes, and it is going to be a real pain in the backside for Av3k. It's going to have a lot of work cut out for him, but that turret will help himself in more ways than one. Yep, might have a lot of battles there for that upper level, mid-level, near the heavy. But both of these players, if you think back to that last game on Ruins, they were playing some mind games with those major items a little bit. So might see a little bit more as that as well, as we're now loaded into the map, about ready to go in to our second game. cha1n up by 1. Av3k's tournament life on the line here. He's got to win Vale, and then that would take us to a third map, Awoken, but cha1n has the opportunity to take this one and potentially move forward. Yeah, ridiculous stuff if these next 2 potential maps going forward here on Vale. These are statistically been cha1n's best maps, so a little bit of a worry for me for Av3k leading into this, considering how well they both played in that previous map. But let's see what happens here. cha1n been performing very well all weekend long. Mega's up in the next 15 seconds, but Heavy is coming up next. His cha1n is just trying to get an eye to see exactly where he's going to be approaching from. Does have the height advantage on that tri-bolt side, as we spoke about in the pre-show, and looking to see it do a little bit of damage, but this is looking very good here for cha1n, as Av3k just lurking around a little bit more, but does manage to get the Heavy in the process. Yeah, and left that Mega there. Oh my gosh, drops down to the mid-level. Av3k did not retreat. He actually stayed there. We saw cha1n come back, and then Av3k was able to use that LG and put himself in position to pick up that first frag. That also separated the time there on the items, which could make for interesting rotation if Av3k holds on to a lead here. So a good start that definitely benefited Av3k. Yeah, it certainly did indeed. And again, Av3k in a disadvantageous position, trying to go for his Heavy, but managed to get away with it in the end. So rotate around to try and delay him from the Mega as much as possible. Decides to rocket drop and think, do you know what, I'm just going to go for it if you're not here. And what beautiful LG. We talked about it, it's got back skills, and in the end, just manages to bag that second frag. Going to try and catch him on spawn if he can. Looks like he won't be able to, but yeah, already the damage has been done. Minute 40 in, already Av3k 2-0. Yeah, it was a good start there for Av3k. There he hits another rail through the doorway. And I think that LG frag at the very start, you know, gave him a little bit of momentum here already on Vale.
Now, I do also have to say, like, early on, cha1n was quick to take out what totems had been put down, so Av3k really hasn't had a chance to put that together. They're going to meet in the back hallway. Rockets exchanged. This time, it is Av3k who is very, very low. cha1n took quite a bit of damage there as well. Both players backing off, but cha1n with the rail to put his first frag on the board.
Lovely stuff there from cha1n. Makes up in the next few seconds. Just keeping Av3k at bay here. Could get a cheeky rail. They both did actually. That was a good return rail there from Av3k. Huge play from him to make sure to continue piling on the pressure and not walk all over him. He's coming out with the LG. Just going to burst out anyway. And the items still aren't heavily segregated as of yet, but you know, it's still early days coming into this. It's cha1n now just watching to see exactly where he's going to come from. Has a feeling that he's in the rail room, but doesn't know which route he's going to come from, either towards LG or towards the rail jump pad here. But cha1n just playing it safe here, going for the height, just going for the mega, and still has that turret in play and the turret in his back pocket.
You know, there's enough time there, and that's going to allow cha1n to not only grab that mega, but immediately quick hop over to that heavy. It only needs about 6-7 seconds here on Vale for that to happen, but LG caught as the turret's going down. It won't matter, though. cha1n is still able to get the damage done, tying this game up. He did take a lot, lost a lot of his armor health stack, but is back in it. Out to that teleporter now, trying to make sure his opponent's not going to follow him through. Grabs that mega, but the heavy's up now.
Oh, what a rocket as well from cha1n.
Just as it spawned,
yeah, that was just ridiculous. Still tied up, still. Is now cha1n just dropping her down to see if he can catch a cheeky little rail. Misses the first one, but isn't going to bother attempting the second. He's basically saying, you can come to me if you want to continue this engagement, but Av3k's having absolutely none of it. Does have another turret up, ready to chuck on down to see if Timmy can do a bit of damage or feed cha1n a little bit of info. Mega's still up, by the way, but I love this play from cha1n just to get that first rail, just make it obsolete, picking up that heavy and going for the mega himself. So he's in the prime position to now take the fight against Av3k and get that third frag, but will he though?
I think that window of opportunity is not there quite yet. At least he's going to have to keep working at it. There's another totem in the back there. cha1n, good awareness there. Totem awareness as he does fire tribal. I don't think it took it out, but had an idea that it was there. So we're almost halfway through this map. Turret continues to zone out of the exit of that teleporter. Some good rockets coming in from cha1n, despite the fact that they are not necessarily hitting. He's got the right idea. If your opponent sees a rocket at their feet, they're probably not going to move forward. So zoning a little bit. Has an opportunity now to take out some of these totems as Av3k repositions here.
Yeah, Av3k's only got one totem up at the moment. Decides to dive on through anyway. If he was thinking about putting down the turret to divide the attention, but decided not to, which is understandable. But Av3k is so weak. cha1n could go on the hunt, finds him. That's good his opportunity if he goes for the mega. But look, he may catch him again as he's going for the light. A little bit mistake there from Av3k, just trying to speed up the recovery process, but does get away very, very close.
You know, that is one of those that I feel like you absolutely want to chase after, but cha1n made the right decision. Back off, make sure you're in a spot. It's going to be real hard for Av3k to get that stack back, and cha1n, I think, made a great decision right there. Av3k really trying to do a lot of damage from the bottom with that LG, but cha1n always seems to have a stack lethal. He's not really given Av3k much room to work with.
Yeah, he seems to have a advantageous angle every time in terms of position he's in. He seems to always get the first shot, always kind of, I wouldn't say put a shock to the system for Av3k, but he's never approaching him. It's always Av3k trying to rotate round to try and catch cha1n off guard. Of course, cha1n is the lead at the moment, and he doesn't seem to be too phased about the overstack. Of course, he'll pop down to the rail room now and again to see what totems are lurking about and just pull straight back. He's played, obviously, this champion selection more times than none. And now 20 in, he just barely takes down Av3k. He's only on 8 HP. And look at this though, Wheat. 3 seconds until the mega. He's already going to recover from that last bout. And I'm getting a little bit worried here for Av3k.
Yeah, I mean, 2 frags now. We've got about 3.5 minutes left. And cha1n is just setting up. He's reading this quite nicely. Good rail on top of that heavy. Av3k's still going to grab it, but look at that health. He is just a tickle away from potentially cha1n's 5th frag.
3 minutes left. Guess Av3k again with that next rail. Mega is up. Delaying it just a little bit here. Just waiting for Av3k to push away a tad so he does not hear it. But I think he was in range anyway. Heavy's up in the next 5 seconds. But Av3k needs to try and get some of these items. He's picked a lot of his items up at the start, but just not doing a lot of damage with it. And this is looking very dicey here for both players, really. But cha1n did have the height advantage once again. Catches him with that first round and just keeps catching him off guard quite a lot here as he's just trying to drive by to heal up with these lights and these health bubbles down on the floor. And cha1n just find a few rockets. Dives on forward. Knows him making cover any second. Are we about to get it? No, he does not. That second to last rocket put him out of position. That was huge.
That was putting now this into a 1 frag game, also opening up the possibility for Av3k to potentially take control of both major items. I'm not sure that I'm in love with that move that he had there. But I think Av3k just happened to be the right place, right time, caught him with that bounce rocket. Could have gone a lot different. That was hard considering how much momentum cha1n had, but Av3k gets it done. So cha1n still ahead by 1. Nice rocket. Oh, it doesn't follow up with the midair, but does with the rail. 5-3, less than 2 minutes left to go, and Av3k finds himself in a rough spot.
He certainly does. What a rail from cha1n just to secure that 5th frag. 90 seconds left though. Av3k does have time to do this, but the question is, Willie is now 5 seconds left until that Mega does approach. Heavy is almost in sync, just a few seconds behind. Trying to back away again, still has that turret, but not too sure from Av3k. He definitely needs at least a very good stack to work with, but at the same time, make it a clean frag so he can continue putting on the pressure as soon as cha1n comes up on spawn if he does get that full frag here week.
You know, this looks like a different cha1n than what we saw earlier today in the Zanaku game, and I think maybe he just needed to, you know, find whatever confidence he had, bring that back, know that, hey, I know what I'm capable of. Av3k does grab another frag, 1 minute left to go. There is still a chance here. cha1n's going to have to play this one carefully. He needs to protect that frag with everything that he's got.
And he's got the stack, and he's just got that first rail. He's going for the hunt. He hit the second one as well, but is he going to continue to progress? Yes, he is. He takes him out, ties things up. 30 seconds left, and the items aren't going to be up for a while, but Av3k can put him in his position early, but start to try and trap him, deny him of the rockets, switches back to rail, and Av3k knows that it's time for him to get the Mega, get the light, and try and contest that heavy straight afterwards.
This might be another one of those situations where the opponent ties it up and has control, and then it becomes very, very difficult for cha1n to bring that back, despite that he has held the lead for most of this game. You've got totems at the exit of the teleporter, your opponent's down below. There is a great rail coming out from Av3k. They're sudden death, though. Next frag will take this one. cha1n has the possibility of eliminating Av3k, and Av3k's going to go ahead and go for it. 1 rocket, 2 rocket, 3 rocket, and he takes the map by 1. Wow.
He was left on 21 HP. They had to be some damn good rockets, and you saw the first 2. I was getting a little bit, sketchy for me. I thought cha1n's probably going to take this even with that stack disadvantage. That's unbelievable.
That rocket through the telly and then the momentum. Again, it was one of those situations like Av3k was right there. He perfectly landed those rockets. I don't think death just seemed to be unavoidable at that point. Then the question was, okay, what am I going to do? Just like the last game that we saw was Ron and Dramus, where Dramus, like, you know, tied it up but didn't have the ability, like didn't have control. In that case, Av3k tied it up and then had the ability to grab control. Made it really hard that if cha1n was going to win that one, or he was going to need control. It just, wow, as great as cha1n played in that one, Av3k, I think, shows why he is a seasoned veteran in the Quake series, and that, you know, the game's not over until it is over.
Just unbelievable stuff. And you're right, though. Again, it's that veteran experience coming in from Av3k. But there's that veteran experience, but that was cutting it closer than anything I've seen. Look at this. This is what I was talking about before. Misses the first couple of rockets, but hits the first 2. And that last rocket, it's debate where do I change weapons, and then obviously with the weapon switch animation will I have time to kill him, or shall I stick with the rockets? And he just stuck to his guns and still managed to hit that.
It was probably the right decision, considering that the turret was there too, right? Offering its support. It just didn't work out that way. It's one of those where I feel like, you know, we just split the timeline, Lethal, and there is definitely a timeline where absolutely cha1n got that last little bit of health, won it 2-0, but now we're in the timeline where they're taking this one to the third and final game. That's going to be on Awoken, and it's going to be cha1n on the Nyx and Av3k on the Doom.
Yeah, a little bit worried for Av3k due to the Nyx pick from cha1n. We've seen some really good Nyx players take a full advantage of that Ghost Walk and, of course, the Art of Control afterwards. It's going to be a tough nut to crack. I did say that, of course, Vale is one of cha1n's best maps statistically, but so is Awoken. So at this stage, if Av3k wins this and creates a reverse sweep, then that's going to be huge for Av3k, not just in this matchup when he takes the win, but that momentum boost or the morale for him moving on into loser bracket.
I mean, every one of these games has been by one. So we had 2-3, 6-5. I kind of expect a close game. You know, Awoken, if we think a little bit about what we've got here, Doom maybe a little bit of mobility, but guess what? Nyx has some mobility too, and has an escape, and has the ability to be a little bit aggressive. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. It's kind of, you got to throw everything out the window from the last two games and just consider it. It all comes down to this, but it's a hard one to call.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a 2-0 at one stage. I wasn't even considering the possibility of a third map, looking at the position where Av3k was in. No stack, no Art of Control, 2 frags down, a couple minutes left. It was dangerous territory for Av3k, but he's a dangerous man, so he probably likes some thrives off this thing in terms of like the dopamine going sky high, especially in that second map. But it's like I said before, for cha1n, this is also one of his best maps statistically. Nyx is a very good pick. We've seen Doom is literally being played on Awoken almost every single time, but that's just the standard meta in top play, in ranked, etc. But it's not a surprise that everyone wants to try and abuse that passive ability from the Doom. But I really don't know. I don't know how I'm going to call this. Normally on paper I would have said Av3k, but the way cha1n's been playing 6 weeks leading into this moment, it's tough to call here, Week.
I mean, Av3k's LG has been looking pretty good. cha1n has been hitting a lot of those rail shots, 2 weapons that are pretty crucial to Awoken overall. So, right, partially I think it's going to come down to how are the, and again, even in that last game on Vale, there was, there was some playing with the major items. That, both times that resulted in one player saying, I can take control now that we've both made the decision to delay a little bit some of these items. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. It could come down a lot to the spawners. We are going to see Av3k get that mega spawn, grab that light immediately, but now he needs to arm up. So he's got himself the Tri-Bolt and the LG. Sees his opponent with the rail, knows exactly where he is, needs to be careful, probably wants a rail of his own, but not the easiest path to get there.
Yeah, a moment of relief from Av3k, I assume, after that second map, but he's been in this position numerous times, so it's just going to be another day in the office for him as cha1n currently top mid. Av3k still looking to pick up all the weapons in his arsenal. He does have that Trinity now to pursue by any means necessary. Does pick up the heavy, but I like this from cha1n. Has delayed the mega quite a fair bit. Just checking the choke point towards rail. Realize it's not there, especially from that rocket. And I love how he tried to pick up the mega as soon as physically possible when he saw that rocket come from the top mid side. Because the closer Av3k would have come, the more of a chance or increased chance that Av3k will work out the timing.
Ooh, a rocket sent around the corner. Av3k firing one back. That will give away his position, but expecting his opponent's going to come down that hallway. cha1n with a great rail. He was looking for a follow-up. He's got the LG out. And wow, ballsy on both sides. There's the Ghost Walk to get a little aggressive, and he's going to pop the Rampage. He misses 1 jump, 2 jump, and then he goes for the smack. But cha1n with the LG for the first frag. What an exchange.
My God, Av3k gave him the backhand, but cha1n just slapped him back and managed to get that first frag. 90 seconds in.
What an interesting exchange.
It was. I wasn't expecting the berserk though. Literally absolute madness. But I was expecting just a rail in all fairness. But minute 45 in now. Mega's up in 10. cha1n's in a good position. Av3k's in a slightly better position, but it depends how risky cha1n wants to take this to go for that mega, but decides to back away.
I might be wrong, but has cha1n picked up the first frag in all 3 of these games so far? You don't need to answer that because I'm asking you to remember something that's like a minute detail, but...
Okay, good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but, you know, we've seen cha1n start with that momentum. That certainly helped him out in all 3, definitely in the first one, even though it was a low-scoring game. Always feels good to kind of get that first frag, but it feels bad to lose the lead after you get that first frag, too, so you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, it certainly does, and Av3k needs to keep an eye on the rotations, the patterns that cha1n makes collecting these hourglasses for that Ghost Walk. As it's a low priority for Av3k, but still needs to keep an eye on what rotations cha1n is going to make. As they're nearly at the 3-minute mark, cha1n with a decent stack lead here, just faking that jump up to top mid, but problem is Av3k's on the opposite side of the map, so he's not going to hear that anyway.
Yep. I fooled him. No, don't be happy.
No, you fooled yourself.
Yeah, cha1n doing a good job. This is like the 2nd or 3rd time in this map where I've seen him get some unanswered damage with that LG. Lands a great rail there. Immediately Av3k pulling out. Oh, that LG also hitting a rocket. Not enough to kill there. Tri-Bolt coming out. He's keeping the pressure on. Looking for a rail angle, but won't be able to find it. cha1n with that Mega. And now we're starting to see a little bit more time between these 2 items, but not enough to make a massive difference for full control. There we've got the Ghost Walk through the teleporter, and cha1n's not going to chase.
Yeah, because the Ghost Walk was pretty much running out. You would have heard him go through the TP, so it's a little bit of a waste there, so understandable. So Meg's up in the next couple of seconds. Here's the first one. Doesn't go for the second, but it's going to see if he rotates round, but he knows he's still top mid. Why do he move from that position unless he's going for that item? He's going to see if he can get the way around him. But this has been a very interesting affair from the 2 of them so far. Both of them just having that GA for the items now and again, but also at the same time trying to contest for that Mega depending on the scenario after each bounce. And looking to back away again as the Heavy now up in the next few seconds. cha1n is going to try and get himself prepared, but it looks like so was Av3k as he dropped on down as he hit 2 rails in a row. He's not going to go for the 3rd, may use the LG for extra insurance, but still piling on the pressure. Av3k is trapped.
Yeah, gosh, 3 rails in a row, and that really has been one of the biggest differences between cha1n and Av3k here in this matchup. 4 rails, 5 rails! He just needs to keep at it. Av3k very, very low. I say that like it's so easy. Just keep railing. That's fine. But I mean, honestly, that is where we have seen cha1n really, really separate himself from Av3k here, is hitting those very nice shots that go completely unanswered by Av3k. Oh, there it was. Nicely done. The patience paid off. The LG as his opponent flips around the corner. And as we hit the 5-minute mark, cha1n's up by 2.
And this is where we get into dangerous territory. Items heavily segregated. cha1n's got a full stack to work with. He can contest this as he sees fit. He can just push on in if he wants to try and do a little bit more damage, but you can't underestimate Av3k's combat skills here. As you can see, he's trying to do a little bit more and push on forward, force him to go for that Mega, which he has done, but that was incredible. Heavy's up in 5. Will Av3k even attempt to contest it? Potentially, but he's left it a little bit late. But actually, no, he has put himself in a good position up top. But cha1n's just going straight after him, and the Ghost Walk and the rail. Great stuff from cha1n.
Yeah, I mean, that was a cover all the bases right there.
Yeah.
You saw the aggression. He had an opening rocket jump, landed the rail. So yeah, we saw the Ghost Walk, but that was kind of a, well, if this fails, I'm going to need insurance. Yeah, and that was the insurance policy right there. That was ended up paying off quite nicely. So I do not call that one a waste at all. Av3k now in this position, also lethal, where we're halfway through this game. You know, cha1n starts to put together 4 or 5, you know, in total score, and then suddenly, right, speed becomes an issue, and the Ghost Walk becomes an issue, and your inability to really chase the way that you might want to with Doom becomes an issue, and that's what Av3k really needs to avoid going into these final 4 minutes.
And once the Ghost Walk has been depleted, that's Av3k's window of opportunity to try and take advantage of it. It's just a matter how to force him into the Ghost Walk and when he's going to be able to, you know, it's all that 50-50 decision making on where he could be, how he's going to go about it. But cha1n's already gone in a defensive. And you know what, on a map like Awoken, you can do that depending on the position you put yourself in. And it's got to be narrow or at least close quarters by any means to take advantage of those defensive rockets. And Av3k knows that, and he's playing exactly how he did not want him to 3 minutes left, looking to try and go for those 3 frags to tie this up.
Yeah, cha1n's hitting a 59 rail right now and almost a 40% LG. He's also done 2,300 points of damage to the 1,000 of Av3k. Just to, you know, put it into perspective, how much those rail shots that have gone unanswered have affected those overall numbers.
Yeah, that is just incredible, but time is running out. Ghostwalk is up in the next 10 seconds. Av3k trying his best just to try and catch him, but he's also just trying to play games with cha1n at this point. He's trying to throw him off, he's trying to force him to take a different route to hopefully catch him, but cha1n's just sitting there saying, no, like, I'm not going to deal with this like situation where he's just going to try and fall in, but he's done a lot of rocket damage to Av3k, takes him out 4-0, still very weak, but he has to ghost walk again.
He does, and even though so low, cha1n's immediately going to go for that health and the light armor as well. As you mentioned, he has Ghost Walk, and that means those 4 frags might as well be, you know, 8 in a way, because you've got to get rid of that Ghost Walk, and then maybe you're going to be able to get that frag. You know, I suppose there's a possibility that cha1n forgets what button activates the Ghost Walk, but that's probably not likely. So with less than 2 minutes left to go, and right now, cha1n's on a road to potentially take game number 3 completely unanswered here by Av3k.
Yeah, even if he used a Ghost Walk, no, he'd have at least 2, maybe 3, depending on the amount of hourglasses he picks up for that Ghost Walk. So let's see how cha1n is going to go about it. But the funny thing is, cha1n has just been taking the same routes and just been around the same area, just going for the TP, going back to the LG, going for the TP. And Av3k's like, somebody's going to go for me. He does try and get away, but will he be able to get away enough? He doesn't make the right decision to the route he's taking. And one of the worst things as the opponent is going up against the Nyx, this many frags down, a minute or 2 left, and having to deal with that Ghost Walk every time. But he needs to push on forward. He needs to get into overdrive and just go hyper aggressive. But the LG's looking good for cha1n, making sure it's not going to be the cleanest of frags, and of course can go for the trade if he gets into a little bit of trouble later on.
Yeah, I mean, the LG's been a real big wingman here for cha1n in this game. His rails too, he landed those 5 earlier, and he's hitting them when they count. Av3k so incredibly low, he's railable no longer, but 30 seconds left, and that is going to be GG as Av3k calls it. cha1n will pull this one out 4-0 at the end there. And what was an exciting series, separated only by 1 frag in game 1 and 2, and then the Nyx just proving to be a little bit too powerful there for Av3k in the final game.
Yeah, literally cha1n did 2.5 times Av3k's damage. The 3,100 compared to the 1,333, but it's the rail percentage, sadly. 62% for cha1n and 17% for Av3k. Very unfortunate.
Yeah. Wow. And that means cha1n's going to be advancing, and unfortunately that means Av3k is out of the tournament here for the Quake World Championships as we continue on in the lower bracket. Welcome back, ZSX.
A little bit of another upset we're seeing here.
Yeah.
And, you know, we did say coming into this, cha1n was looking better and better, more and more confident. I think it was showing. And one of the things that impressed me most is the way he played the player, not just the map. You know, particularly on that last map, he used Av3k's aggression against him, kind of kited him into these engagements and was bullying him around. And it shows by the damage stats once again. Unfortunately, Av3k just didn't hit enough, but in part it's because the Nyx just wasn't giving him the opportunities either.
Yep, was not. Well, I think we're going to be bringing cha1n up here to chat with us.
It's this one, right?
In just a couple minutes, I said, I think. Yeah, just you get it.
I'll get it ready.
1 minute.
I'll get it ready. There you go.
You're getting too
prep
excited,
everything.
Dan. It's all right.
Get the cheese and crackers ready. You know, we want to create an inviting environment where winners feel good about their game. Anyway, cha1n's now done. That means, I believe, actually, he will have 1 additional game coming up here. Yeah, he's going to be playing cha1n.
Oh.
Yeah. So look for that one.
Brutal loser bracket today.
It is, yes, because coming up after this one, we've got Zanaku versus Sirius. It's bound to be a good one. After that, we'll have cha1n versus cha1n. And then our final game, I believe, is Rafa versus...
Nosfa.
Nosfa won.
Yeah, he won 2-1.
Right.
They're doing the picks and bans as we speak.
All right.
Ooh.
All right.
It has been upset central, though,
Let's
hasn't
invite
it?
cha1n to the desk.
There he comes.
I don't know what the formal invitation process is, but cha1n, you want to join us up here on the stage? Congratulations, man.
Move round.
I'm trying, mate. I'm trying. I ain't got much space myself.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You hear us okay? We
Yes,
can hear. Okay,
yes.
awesome. You took game number 1. Very, very close. Game number 2 is the one I want to ask you about because it looked like you were going to potentially 2-0 Av3k, which would be not only, I think, a great accomplishment, even lower bracket, but you held on. Can you tell us kind of from your perspective what went on there, what you were thinking to do there in the closing of that game, and how you saw that one play out?
Well, I think he pushed. The trigger was for him to push when I was up 2 kills. I like ran into the totem, and I think that gave my position. And like, he's probably like, oh, he probably like that's gonna throw him off a bit. He's Av3k thinking that about me.
Right.
So he pushed me, and it did throw me off because I wasn't expecting him to jump off tri-bolt. And then he's just like really clutch, pushed me the kill to tie it up, and then the kill to win for him. It was just like classic Av3k pushing in a choke point, like just being a bull, basically.
Right.
So I don't know, yeah, but like. He played pretty well, but I played probably the best I've ever played.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how you feel.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
look, any win versus Av3k's a good one, but you looked really solid in that one. And can you tell us, just compared to your game earlier versus Zanaku, right? Like,
Oh my
did
God.
you not feel like you were playing at your best there?
No, I've like even against Proximo,
Yeah.
I felt terrible. I just won that because of like, honestly, I got pretty lucky against Proximo. Zenaku, like he played very well as well, but I played like terribly. I just couldn't get in the groove. I didn't feel like I was hitting my shots. It was like really tough. And then like the Nyx Visor matchup is really tough as well. Like if Visor gets ahead and then he runs the vials, it's impossible to really do anything because he just uses it off cooldown and then you have to use it so
Right.
rare,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, congratulations first,
Thank you.
cha1n. I know we've spoken before about your road here and how hard
Yeah.
it's been and the work you
God.
put in, and it was a bit of a rocky start, but
Yeah, it was...
but you're here with a match to go. I think I just want to talk about your approach to Av3k in particular because you mentioned the word bull, and I know he's somebody that just loves to bully opponents and get in your face, and that's a very particular play style. So I just want to understand how you thought about approaching Av3k in this matchup, because it felt very much that you had changed your game to based around him, and was particularly in that last match, the way in which you just manipulated his play style against him almost.
I just, going into it, I didn't really prepare. Like, the only notes I have on Awoken is that he pushes with machine gun, like when he dies. And
Yeah.
he, like, does miracle damage sometimes. And I don't know, this whole set, I just trusted my own ability. And, like, I just decided to go toe-to-toe with him, and, like, I came out on top. My rail was, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
For sure
that
it was.
helped.
Yeah.
it was, like, I didn't even, like, understand how, but every time I, like, just needed to hit, I just hit him. Like, he just kept getting railed, and it rattled him. Like, at these lands, when you get railed, and, like, you can really feel like the opponent's, like, railing the shit out of you, you start, like, getting psyched out. And you start eating, like, exit rails, and, like, you really start to panic. Like, everybody. Like, the fact that Av3k does that is pretty nuts. So.
Yeah, just on the final map, I just want to talk about like your thought process during those last few minutes, because it was literally like 4-0 the entire time. You were constantly making Av3k dance here and absolutely everywhere, but you were always taking those same routes around rockets to LG. Was that your game plan defensively, just so that you can use that Ghost Walk and then keep picking up the Hourglass and just playing it in a defensive manner, or was it just a coincidence because due to the fact that Av3k wasn't shooting too well, sadly?
No,
I think it was
saw
like
his-
17%
it was
accuracy.
like 11 LG and like 16
Yeah, it
rail.
was bad.
Yeah.
But like that was him getting rattled, I think. Like I don't know if he had other issues, but like I feel like he was rattled. And like yeah, that looping I was doing, I just felt like I was in his head a little bit. Like
Yeah.
I just could do. It was like kind of risky, but like I just decided to go with the flow. Like it wasn't my plan to run with like a 4-0 lead. It just what happened. Like it just what how he was playing and like what I decided to do.
Awesome. cha1n, congratulations. We're going to let you go because I know you've got another match to prepare for. Any thoughts, about that upcoming match, or is it just like you need to get
I don't
your
even. Is
space
it against Run?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like played pretty well. I practiced against him a bit, like with high ping. He's good. Like
Yeah.
he plays like pretty slow, and he catches you off guard quite a lot. So yeah, he's good, and like it's gonna be a good game for sure.
Well, good
Awesome. Yeah, good luck, cha1n. Thank you very much. Congratulations. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, it's going to be Zanaku versus Sirius right here for another loser bracket matchup. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Nice.